Good day to you, one and all. It is I, Justin Hawkins, and welcome to Justin Hawkins Rides Again, the podcast. Yeah, out comes his soaking wet, head to toe, looking like a drowned rat. Well, I've just been out running and I got caught in the rain. It's actually quite exhilarating. Anyway, this week is a more serious topic. We've decided to talk about the role that alcohol plays in the music industry and the effect it has on us as artists and musicians. It was quite a difficult topic to broach, and my producer Jenny May Finn was quite tentative at the top of this, posing questions that were, I don't know, she didn't want to come across as some sort of tabloid journalist or something, you know. And I was very closed off as well at the beginning for reasons which later emerged, and I think about halfway through we had a bit of a breakthrough and we managed to get a lot deeper. And this is one of those episodes that normally I record an episode, whether it be with Jenny or someone else, and I just sort of go and I sit there and reflect on the conversation and think, oh yeah, that was a cool bit, or that was a cool bit. This one, I just can't remember any of it. I know that I had some sort of rant. It was so visceral that I just, I was right in it, and I wasn't sort of censoring myself. So I think I might have got a bit carried away in places, and hopefully that's fun to watch. Use the comment section to tell me whether it's fun to watch or whether I should just keep my mouth shut. Half the time I think that's probably the case, but we'll see. We're also aware that this is a really sensitive topic, and it's one that could be affecting a lot of you guys right now. So if you need help, we've put some links in the description for you to use. Also, for the YouTube moderators, this is definitely not an episode glorifying addiction or consumption of any illegal substances. It's to educate us on the problem and how to address it, really. For now, please, to enjoy. This is Justin Hawkins Rides Again, the podcast, the jaws of victory, pitfalls of the music trade. And today, Jenny May Finn and I are going to be talking about, addiction. We're going to talk about addiction.
Music industry and addiction.
What did you say?
Because the music industry and addiction, they're very linked, aren't they?
Well, let's get into that, shall we? I'll do the theme tune. Justin Hawkins rides again.
Is this sofa background okay? It's pretty lame.
It's pretty lame, but it's good. All right, so what are we talking about today?
Alcoholism and addiction in the music industry.
Okay, cool. You must have some questions for me. I can probably answer some of those.
Do you have any experience in this?
No, not first-hand, but of course I can have some anecdotal experience involving my friend Jason Hawkwind.
No, you're not going to Jason Hawkwind this. You were so open about it before. Okay, we can Jason Hawkwind.
I'm going to do so. I'll Jason Hawkwind some of it. Go on.
Well, do you think alcohol is an integral part of rock and roll?
Okay. We were watching Spinal Tap the other day. This is Spinal Tap as part of their sort of to get us into the creative flow. And there's a reason why everybody watches that movie in the music trade, especially in the rock and roll area. It's because it's so accurate. All that stuff is just, you go through a lot of the things that they're depicting in that movie. Have you seen it recently?
I think I rewatched it not long ago.
Because it's the kind of thing where everybody who does music just watches it religiously multiple times.
Even if it's not music, if you're working as someone attached to that, because I remember having a Spinal Tap moment with Russell where I was like, I cannot find this stage.
Yeah.
And it's my job to bring people to the stage. I'm like, if I don't find this stage...
Well, we've had stuff like we were supposed to go on stage and then we came off to change our costumes. We got locked in an electrical cupboard. We couldn't, and nobody could get us out. So, those things happen. But the thing about Spinal Tap is they're always hungover throughout, aren't they? And there's the brilliant quote from the drummer at the time who said, as long as there's still sex and drugs, I can live without the rock and roll part. Which is like, the reason why that's actually funny is because most people, I think, probably feel that way. It's
Do you think people just do rock and roll so they can have they can drink, take drugs and have sex?
Yeah, I think so.
And they're not actually into the rock and roll?
I think that's like, I don't know who came up with it, but that's what people think,
Is that how you felt?
No, but I felt like there's something about the culture of it. Like, I don't know, it's just, you start off in pubs and everybody in the pub is drinking. You go to record company. You know, if a record company starts to flirt with you, they'll take you to a restaurant, and they'll get you pissed. That's what they'll do. Same with publishers and anybody. Like all of the relationships, they're initially conducted in pubs around, in my experience, Camden. You know, and then they'll take you to the fancier places. But it's boozing and it's partying. And it's definitely.
What if you weren't drinking?
You were.
Did you ever meet anyone who wasn't drinking at that time? When you were like in your late 20s?
You mean when we were first experiencing those things? I don't think so. You know, I don't think so.
But did you like drinking anyway at that point?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been in and out of it. I'd had a period of sobriety before. I think including when we were recording the first record, or not, I can't remember. But maybe 2001 or something, I did it dry. Started drinking again in 2002.
Why did you stop drinking in 2001?
Because I wanted to get fit.
Oh.
So I thought, stop drinking, and then that will immediately sort of reduce my calorie intake by about 90%, I think. Something like that. And it really worked. Like, I got fit in a couple of months, And
then you started drinking again in 2002?
Yeah, because I didn't stop for anything other than vanity, really.
But when you drank, did you just drink like a normal person, or did you drink to excess?
I drank like sort of 2 or 3 normal people.
You do, even with orange juice.
Hey! This is pineapple juice. Shut up.
Like, I think whenever we were drinking like just a regular beverage, I like take a sip and I turn around and it's just done. I'm like, where did that whole green juice go? Like, it's like, it's just, you inhale liquids like it's air.
It's just so delicious though. I love liquids.
Don't you know that if you take smaller sips, you elongate the deliciousness over a period of time? Because one giant
That's
sip
a myth.
one giant sip.
One giant tit, what?
I said tip, which is just as bad.
Just as bad. One giant tip.
One giant sip.
Sip.
Tastes the same as 10 little sips. You're still getting the same pleasure. So you only get one sip, and I get like about 15 out of the same drink.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I do have a tendency to guzzle my drinks quickly, as you
guzzle your drinks. You're a guzzler. You're a guzzler.
I am a guzzler. I have been for a while. Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Except water.
I don't think I can remember anybody being sober around us. I really can't.
But did you feel like you conducted everything drunk then?
Yeah. Yeah, or, at least I might not have... Everything I did was either conducted drunk or drinking.
Or hungover.
Yeah, definitely that. Yeah. I would say it was everywhere. I don't know what it's like now.
But then when you started to go on tour, was it just exacerbated? Is that where it exacerbated? Was that where it... That's where people, I guess, assume is all the drinking takes place is...
It's not there. It's everywhere. It's at home. It's in meetings. You don't ever take your foot off the pedal. Because why would you? Why would you?
I don't know. Some people don't like being drunk all the time.
I remember there was one person... oh, God, yeah. Okay, you might have to cut this out. There was a guy called... He was I think he was an agent or a promoter of one of the festivals we were playing at. And he was saying the same thing to me as well. So he would say, can I get your number? Because I want to talk to you about how you manage to be on the road and be sober, because in my job I can't be sober. It's like it's not just like the temptation of it, but it's actually what's expected of him, and his only role is to sort of put gigs on. But he's expected to turn up and drink with the bands and hang around, party, do all that stuff. And that's in. He's a Swedish rock promoter.
But I guess his job is to relate and to have a sense of camaraderie in order to. And if he has any sort of if he differentiates himself when he's trying to assimilate, it's difficult. But especially if you're not in the position of power, I guess.
I mean, I just don't know. Boozing is just the tip of the iceberg, obviously. But it's, I mean, that's, you go to an awards ceremony. You've been to the Brits before?
I don't ever want to go.
Right, okay. You've been to award ceremonies though, haven't you?
Not really.
Haven't you? Okay.
It's the one thing I never. I was at the Music Cares Grammys Award when Aerosmith were being.
Yeah. Okay.
And Steven Tyler came up to me.
Yeah. Was there a drink on the table? Was there a big bucket of beers in the middle and wine and stuff? Did they come around with vodkas and things?
I don't know. I snuck out the front briefly. I was supposed to be at the back.
Okay. Well, if you go to the Brits, they just have a big bucket full of booze in the middle of the table. And then you get hammered, and then you go and make your speech when you win. And that's how it goes.
Is it because it's free drink and people have a weird thing where they can't resist free alcohol? Because they feel like it's a waste.
It's free anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when we did the Brits, it might have been bangers and mash as well. Bangers and mash and a big bucket full of booze. Something.
And you performed twice, didn't you?
Yeah.
But when you were there, were you not self-conscious if you have to perform if you're drunk?
I had to be careful at the Brits because there was the end of our performance there was a sort of hydraulic platform that would drop, and then there'd be an explosion on the tower. And if I got that wrong, I'd basically explode. So I had to be on the ball a little bit for our first performance. The second one was easier. I was probably a bit drunk by the time we did the second one. There wasn't as much bells and whistles and stuff to think about.
And no one cares if everyone's drinking, I guess, so no one's going to stop someone.
Yeah, everyone gets drunk at the Brits.
But in general, if you're like drinking and performing, no one's going to go, oh, you shouldn't be drinking before.
It's not like being a bus driver or something like that, where you definitely, driving, any sort of driving job or teaching. I don't know.
I think if I was about to do something like perform now, but I know now is different. We can get onto that. If my bandmate was getting pissed before I was going out to perform, I'd be annoyed. I'd be like, "F you. Who do you think you are? We're a team."
Yeah, but what about when the whole team's drinking?
Well, that's different. But maybe there's one person in that team that actually doesn't really want to drink but has to drink. Because it's always a level, isn't it? No one's ever completely on the same page. Isn't it true. Like levels to it? But I don't know.
Ask me some more questions. What you got?
Why did it become a problem? I don't mean.
Are you more? I don't mean. Are you happier now?
No, I'm not talking about, because I think the rudest question people always ask when it comes to addiction and alcoholics is going up to someone and saying, "So what was your rock bottom?" It's like, are you asking someone? It's like asking someone who's a while ago. So what were you thinking before you tried to kill yourself? No, you can't ask someone that question.
Yeah, that is rude.
But it is really rude. It's like, what, I'm gonna tell you the deepest, darkest moment of my life.
Who the fuck are you? And who the fuck is your listenership? Or why would I do that?
Or just a random person. I know people think that that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't like that question.
Why do they think that's fine then? Because they think that the culture's shifted to a point where it's okay to talk about everything.
No, I think people think, like, what was it that... Because sometimes it might be someone who's struggling and they can then go pinpoint something in their life that's similar. Yeah, is it the same as mine?
Yeah. I think that the thing about rock bottom is that, mine's different to someone else's. Everyone's different.
Yeah, but and I think the rock bottom is just the rock bottom bit. It's not actually the elongated problem, because the worst thing is because Russell used to talk, and it's people who aren't in recovery that struggle with this, is a tolerable level of permanent unhappiness, where you're just constantly not quite happy, and you're drinking to almost excess, but in a way that's not ever going to make you like do something so bad that you can't get over it and without going sober. That's the hardest, I think. I think sometimes Russell used to say people who hit like rock bottom are lucky because you can't ignore it. You can't ignore that.
Yeah.
You have to change. But if you're just like coasting, which a lot of people are, where they're like, the life is fine, it's just not great.
I think maybe that's part of why it's prevalent in the music trade then, because I think it's harder. I think the bottom is lower, you know, because you're not going to lose your job by being drunk, you know, and you're not going to alienate your audience by being drunk. If sometimes they find it charming, I think, you know, like look at Shane MacGowan or someone like that, you know, or even just like even Matty Healy, you know, you watch a guy there drinking on stage and seeming drunk. It's fun to watch, and it's part of the experience, and it's like, oh, you know, he's an outlaw and a poet and all that, and it's like, you know, you buy into that. It's part of the aesthetic almost, isn't it, for some
but when
artists.
does it become like fun versus not like crutch?
Well, I
Because
think
then it
in
must blur
music
like that,
you
right?
start having these moments that for ordinary, or not ordinary, but you know, people in other vocations would probably think that's the time to put the bottle down, but then they hit those and they bounce along, and people forgive them. They don't lose their job. They're able to go on. They're not happy. You know, it's definitely a problem, probably a daily issue for a lot of people. And then something really bad happens, but it has to be really, really bad, I think, in music. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's the tolerable level of like unhappiness.
Oh, yeah, it's the thing you said, yeah.
And then the rock bottom. Yeah. What's the difference between being addicted to the substance, like alcohol and all the other things that make you take after you drink, and then people who are just partying? Let's say, like, because there's people like in your band or whatever who can drink, but they're not in recovery. What's the difference? Can you tell the
I think I don't think people do it with the same regularity and excess that we used to do it, even now. And I think that's because they don't do that stuff out of respect to me.
No, I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about back then. So let's say there's 4 people in a band. It doesn't have to be you. One of them has a problem with alcohol. The other 3 are just drinking, but don't have necessarily a problem with alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, they're just partying. Why is one struggling and one's not? What's the difference? Why is it not okay for the singer? Why does the singer have to stop drinking but the rest of them don't? What is it about that is not working for them? Why is the alcohol constant?
Don't know. That's something that I think Steven Tyler was struggling with, wasn't it? There's that book, Walk This Way. I think it's a Stephen Davis book where he interviewed all the members and peripheral characters around Aerosmith. And they talked about that, you know, when they were sort of forced to go into rehab and all that, or when Steven Tyler was. And I think at the time when they wrote that book, he was still really pissed off that he'd been the one that had to go in and do that and the rest hadn't. He was really bitter about it. There was sort of like a mandated kind of, your behaviour is destructive and it means that this band isn't functioning. You've got to go to rehab. None of the others went, but they're all doing the same stuff, you know. And I don't know. I can't answer that one because I think for it to work and for it to take, you've got to volunteer that anyway. So some people, I think if you're a singer, you've got to clean your act up at some point, because when it gets to be a real problem, you can't actually do your gig. Whereas if you're a rhythm guitar player, no disrespect to rhythm guitar players, but I'm thinking about Keith Richards here when I say this. He can be as drunk as he fucking likes, but Mick Jagger can't. For the gig to go on, you know what I mean?
Well, you can't slur your words, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know. It's not because it's not.
Also, you might get some acid reflux.
Yeah, it makes your job difficult, actually, if you get things like that, which is something that affected my friend Jason Hawkins.
How did it affect him?
Like that. Yeah, I think it can cause health stuff that makes it difficult to sing. Acid reflux is one of them. Also, like some injuries, like you can get injuries. There were a couple of occasions where there were injuries,
what type of
mysterious injuries. When you get so drunk, you wake up the next morning, you've done something really weird and you don't know what it was, but it's a bruise or a break or a cut or something.
Well, you're missing a tooth.
Eh?
Missing a tooth.
Yeah, missing a tooth's got a split lip. I don't know what happened there. That's weird. But you can get into situations that lead to injuries. And if you have the responsibility of playing a guitar solo, you don't want to be getting into fights, for example. You must always protect the hands. Do you see what I mean by that? Yeah. So I think it's if you're the focal point of the band, then at some point it's most likely going to be you that has to sort yourself out, even when everybody's misbehaving.
But before you touched on the fact that like drinking and taking drugs is medicating something.
Yeah. Did I touch on that?
Yeah.
When did I touch on that?
In another episode.
Oh, okay, right, fair enough. What did I say?
In our personal life.
What was I waffling on about?
You're just saying that often you need to drink and do that because it's such a fame as a form of trauma, and
I think it is.
Job,
yeah.
And the job is hard, and alcohol numbs you, right? Or do you think like?
And also, I don't know. There's also things like I always think about conditional memory. That sort of thing where you have a few glasses of wine, for example. You do a good gig. Then you sort of get it into your head that you need a few glasses of wine to do a good gig, to get that same level of magic buzz or something like that to really perform. And then if it doesn't work, you think, I've got the dosage wrong. It must have been a different year or something. Let's put a bit more in this time. And then like at one point we were touring and we had like all of our techs. They were more or less our bartenders as well as our techs, And in a lot of instances, they were the people that misbehaved with us. They were just like, it was just one great big enabling circus, And I wonder if, I don't know exactly what it would be that it's sort of collectively meditating. Medicating rather. I think it's definitely just the culture of being on the road. It's boozy. Probably starts out as a coping strategy or just something social, icebreaker, and a new member of the crew comes along. Let's have a drink just to see if we can get to know each other a little bit, And then the drink lasts for the full 6 months that you're on the road or whatever. There's lots of reasons for it.
Yeah.
And I think, I just think it's what people do. It's just it.
But do you
people
think
drink, and it's not just music. I think it's not just music where people drink, though, is it?
No, I'm not picking on it. It's just because we talk about the music.
Yeah, but I mean,
and also it's like just has a reputation for people drink so much, and like so many artists have died like because of it.
Because it's not just successful bands. It'd be nice to think that when you get famous, there's a trauma to it, and then it's that. But it isn't just the successful bands, and it isn't just the bands. It's the people around the bands. It's the people in the record companies. It's journalists. Everyone's the same. It's all parties and.
I've asked a few people of our mutual friends who are in the other side, like not the band side, the people who work with the bands, the amount of meetings that they go to during the week to drink blows my mind. Anytime I see them, I'm like, how are you doing this? How are you going out and drinking every night of the week and it's your job? How are you feeling okay? And they're like, I'm fine. I've kind of figured out how to get to the right, level and then know whether or not, not to drink too much. And then I'm quite good at conduct, like the amount of meetings they have where they're just drunk. I'm going to a wine tasting. I'm going to this. I'm doing a deal. I'm trying to get this person's contract. I'm like, how are you doing this? I would not be able for that job if I had to drink every night of the week. I'm 30 years younger. It would destroy me. I had like 2 glasses of wine last night. Woke up with a slightly dry mouth, and I regretted life. I was like, why did I have those 2 glasses of wine? My mouth's dry now. I don't like having a dry mouth. And I was too tired to reach over to the glass of water. And I thought, life's hard. I can't deal with this. I can't deal with the hangover.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think if it's the person I'm thinking of, then I think I may have contributed to some of their hangovers at some point.
Yes.
Is that right?
Of course. Yeah, probably a lot of their hangovers.
Yeah, probably. But
I just don't, but still, like, this is like 20 years on from you giving them hangovers, still going out.
It's incredible.
Every night.
It's great work.
And still being like a nice person and with it and together. I'm like, what? How are you doing this?
Yeah, they're actually they're made different to normal people though. Yeah.
I'd get done it. Oh, sorry,
I think the person you're talking about is somebody that I've been around the world with.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
we've established that we know it's the same person. But also I've met the other people they work with and they're the same.
Yeah, right.
Like someone who's a manager who's 60 in their 60s. And I'm like, how are you so drunk and okay? Like, I can't. I'm the one who always has to go to bed early at this point. But I think that's a generational thing. I don't think people my age can drink the same as older people. There's something just changed in the...
Yeah, I mean, I think in my family, we were brought up around booze, you know, like auntie had pubs.
So was I, though.
My parents had pubs as well. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew that. Of course I knew that.
Of course
I've heard all the stories.
All right. Okay, you've heard all the bullshit.
They might watch this.
But and I think they used to have parties as well. Rave ups or knees ups.
I spoke to another person recently who was in a band and they left their show before the rest of their bandmates and they were like, I only had 1 beer and 1 cigarette. And I was like, oh wow, that's pretty good after your show to not stay around and get drunk. And he's like, yeah, the rest of the band are doing loads of drugs right now. I'm really drunk. He's like the amount of drugs and alcohol. But you have to make you have to leave, I guess, if you don't want to be around that. You have to just but then you miss out.
Yeah, and it changes the dynamic of the group and everything, doesn't it? Oh God, it's destructive. Why?
You tell me.
I don't know why.
Yeah, you do.
Do I know?
I don't know. You know more about it. Did you have... does anyone ever look out for anyone in that situation?
Well...
In your band?
Oh, what do you mean?
Or in the people you're working with, if they start to see it's becoming a problem?
I think it's a bit like this. If you have an issue like that, you can talk to your record company, and they will have a therapist on a bike come into your house to try and talk to you about it.
So but does anyone else pull anyone aside? Or do you come to realizations on your own?
I don't think that there's any point in aside pulling. I don't think that's ever going to be a thing that works. And if that is a thing that people tried in the olden days, it fell on such deaf ears, I can't even remember that happening. You know, we know that's not going to work, don't we?
I don't know. It depends how forceful people are.
I always talk about that band. There was a band that came out on the road with us at one point, and they'd been touring for a long time. Like, I'm talking about decades. Always stinking of yesterday's alcohol, like completely fucked all the time. Getting up, hungover, and starting drinking straight away. You could smell it on them, you know. And that was their vibe. There's no way that's ever going to be a problem for them.
But was that you guys at any point? Because if you guys were drinking, were you guys like those guys to other people?
I think so, probably. But they definitely put it into perspective. You know, they were worse than us, I think, for alcohol at least. you know.
So the pulling aside doesn't work, or people don't pull aside enough.
I've been pulled aside by James Hetfield before. I've talked about that
I remember
before.
you say that.
That didn't work. But it was nice of him to try.
Do you think it ever was anywhere in the back of your mind at any point?
The pulling asiding?
Yeah, what he said to you.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So maybe it did work a little bit. Maybe it was a seed.
Maybe.
Russell's manager, well, not just pulled him aside, pushed him up against a wall and said, if you don't go to rehab now, you're going to be dead. And then dragged him to rehab and forced him in. And then he escaped, and then they pulled him back in again and made him go through withdrawal. And that's why he's clean.
Wow, they saved his life then.
Yeah.
Wow.
He had like John. It's like a well-known story, but John Knoll is his agent, and he's a really, really famous comedy agent. But he's hardcore. I think is he from Manchester, so he's proper like Mancunian, terrifyingness. Like I've met him before, and it's like he's still scary. You can imagine him just grabbing Russell by the scruff of his neck and throwing him in a car and just forcing him into a rehab. He wouldn't have stopped otherwise, I don't think, because
why would you?
The gentle pulling asides weren't.
Yeah.
You know, and it's cracking heroin, so.
Yeah.
And alcohol.
Your gentle word in your shell like isn't going to.
Just a nice little seesaw, the gentle seesaw, a little bit up, a little bit down.
Yeah, that's it.
So that pulling aside worked.
Yeah.
But that was before he made it big, which is interesting.
Mm.
You know, like the full trauma of fame hadn't hit yet.
Yeah, but that's, I don't know, it's different, isn't it? Because for some people it's sort of, the things that you're medicating are also the things that makes you a songwriter or
that's what I mean.
a comedian or whatever, isn't it?
Do you think it's sensitive people?
Yeah, or people who have experienced something dreadful or, don't know, or depressed people, you know. Frankie used to say that our band was free depressives and a manic depressive. That's how he used to describe the darkness.
Were you the manic depressive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is still pretty accurate.
Yeah.
You know.
But I guess people who suffer from mental illness do a lot of reflecting at times.
Yeah.
Because you have to. Because you just sat there thinking about how shit everything is.
Let's do that as an exercise and let's have a little think about how shit everything is. What do you mean by that? What goes through people's minds?
When they're depressed, I don't know, you tell me.
I wouldn't know because I've never
really
suffered.
What about Jason? Has he ever alluded to it?
Yeah, he's fucking hell. I'll tell you what, some of the things that goes through his head, you wouldn't even
think about your darkest thought. Or Jason's darkest thought.
Jason's darkest thought.
Jason, wait. Jason wakes up in the morning. First thought.
Why? Why, Lord? Why? Why, death, have you forsaken me? That's the first thought. And then there's a mortal dread. Oh, God, he wants my money now, you know. It's
Why is the dread just around money?
Usually, yeah, because it's sort of like that money is just the thing that's attached to everything, and it's sort of when you don't have that, you lose everything else. That's the first thing. When you're in a bad mood, that's what happens, you know. And then you think, oh, thank God I've got a daughter, otherwise I'll just kill myself. And then you go, breakfast. Now, here we go. Oh, no, I have an eating disorder, so I won't bother with that. I'll just go straight to the gym. And then you're doing gym stuff, and it's like, yeah, cool. My shoulder hurts. Fuck. I should rest it. No, never going to rest it. And then you're in pain for the rest of the day.
You take some painkillers.
Take some painkillers, or try not to, but, you know, sometimes you just have to. And then you write a song, and then you just think you hate yourself because like the song you're writing is just like sounds whiny, sounds like it's coming from like you turn yourself into a victim. It's like, ugh, everything I do is shit. Why do I don't even like the sound of my own fucking voice. Ugh. And then you go, well, at least I can play guitar, you know. And that's the thing that comforts me. I have a daughter and I can play guitar. Then bed. And we do it all again the next day.
You forgot to put coffee in there.
I drink too much coffee, which makes me anxious as well. So.
You mean Jason? That was Jason's day.
I was channeling. Jason was channeling me. No, I was channeling Jason. That's what was happening there.
Yeah, I wake up and I think, God, is this it?
I mean, it is. It is.
And then I'm just sat there with pure silence. Then I think, oh, do I just have to keep working and being used by everyone in my life until I die?
Yeah. Yes, you do. And then
weirdly, I don't have a lot of why aren't I lovable? I've got a strong sense of self despite being so incredibly alone.
What do you I didn't catch the first part of that. You said you don't what is it?
Wonder why I'm not lovable.
Oh, that's what you do.
Sometimes I question why I don't hate myself more. Which is a weird thing because it means that I
come on.
And then I think at least I've got that I don't hate myself as much as I've got. Sometimes I get a bit sad by that, but not really. I'm lucky about that.
Do you feel less? Does that go away a little bit when you drink wine? Like when you have the 2 glasses?
No,
of
it
wine?
gets worse.
Huh?
It gets worse. Right. So I don't drink much. There's like sometimes it can get worse. But so I like drinking wine, but I usually get that weird anxiousness afterwards because I feel like I've spoken too much or something. Even though a lot of the time I'm on my own, so I'm not really talking to anyone. So it's just me sitting there going. And I actually don't like writing songs or playing guitar much when I've had alcohol. I feel like it's shit. I feel like I can't get to the words. There's like a weird like fog over everything that's ever happened to me, and I can't access it if alcohol's in there because it just becomes a muddy blur.
I don't know how I managed as a drunk person, really. It must have been really difficult because it's difficult as a sober person, and the clarity that you need to be able to do it is just sort of hard enough to find without booze, really.
I'd like Miley Cyrus talks about it too. She's like, I don't drink because why? I love waking up at 100%. Like, why do I want to wake up like slightly off? Like, I like feeling. I feel like the best creativity is when you're your heightened self. Did you write when you was writing and performing?
Yeah, writing was definitely a boozy process for a lot of it. We'd be necking cheap red wine round at Dan and Frankie's place. Writing songs there. I can't really imagine writing that first record without booze. So I don't know, I think the exact kind of combination of everything, I think booze was part of it. So I would say no, I don't think so. We wouldn't have achieved the same success. We might have achieved more success, but certainly not the same, I don't think.
Do you think if one person decides to stop drinking, it changes the dynamic of the band?
Yeah, I think it changes it. I think it makes, I don't know, because it takes a long time to adjust to a thing like that. Some people might go, oh, fuck that. Why should I have to give up as well? And then they become secretive. It depends on which member of the band it is and how powerful they are, I think. And I think there's going to be some begrudgingly altered behaviours. I think there's going to be, it changes. Yeah, of course it does. It's a huge undertaking. Stopping drinking in an alcohol-fueled industry is really difficult for everybody concerned, I think.
Did you have to take a break from music?
Not from music, but from the band, definitely.
Because in order to stay sober?
I think I had no chance. I would have had no chance. That's the other thing. If you're actually an addict and you want to, change that, you have to put your recovery first before everything. You must have heard that expression before. You just have to prioritize it, and that was something that I was trying to explain to. How should I euphemistically refer to this person? There was a person who is well respected, well known in the music trade, established, been several decades at the top of his particular part of the industry, and despairingly asked me if I could help in some way to advise on how to not drink in that job. And the only advice I had was, you got to stop doing that job, because you can't. If he couldn't even envisage a way of existing without drinking. So that isn't the right job for you if you want to recover. So you got to stop, and then go back to it when you're strong enough to be able to do it. If you can't even think of a way to not drink because of your job, change it.
I guess that's scary though, because it's two versions of your identity you're changing then.
Yeah.
Version of you that drank, and then your entire job, which is another identity.
But the one that matters is the one that's going to keep you alive.
You said before that you wanted to talk about how you do it because it's different to everybody else.
Oh yeah. You mean because I don't do 12 steps?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was recovering, I did some of the steps of the AA thing, and I recognised that it works. But I had a bit of a problem because I went to a couple of meetings. I didn't really understand what anybody was saying because they had, and no disrespect to you or anybody else, but the people in the meeting, because of the particular area of London that I was living in at the time, they had such thick Irish accents I couldn't understand a single word that anybody was saying. Like, I couldn't understand a fucking word of it.
Why didn't you go to a different meeting then?
Well, then you have to get in a car.
Recovery first.
Yeah. No.
What, 10 minutes? You just had to go 10 minutes west and you would have been fine.
Yeah, but, I've still, I think 17 years sober. My way's fine.
I know, but at the time...
You know how I do it? I just don't drink.
Yeah, but some people struggle with that.
Yeah, I did, actually. I did go to a lot of meetings, and I just... I don't know. I found it difficult because I was sort of identifying as a person who was in recovery, which I know is healthy. I know that's what you're supposed to do.
You weren't identifying?
I was when I was going to those places, and I was just like, I'm a bit sick of all this. Yeah, I'm just a bit sick of it. I don't know if that's... Does that mean that it's not sustainable, or does it mean that I was never really an addict? What does it mean?
I think you don't find... You're quite an isolated person. You actually don't do community stuff so much.
I don't like anything to do with community. I like to be as remote as possible, yeah.
Where in that you really have to be part of the community, and it's a version of... They have their own language and their way of... Because there's ones for non-alcoholics. There's like CODA, which they also recommend to people who are in like...
Oh, yeah.
CODA is Codependency Anonymous, which basically is the most basic one, which people don't realise. And that's where a lot of the drinking and sex stuff and narcotics, because it's all down to relationships and how you relate to one another and yourself. And then you medicate. And then you have to get over that. And anyway, so a lot of the time people are just like, I hate myself. And I can't interact and live in life properly.
I can't imagine what that feels like.
Do you want me to give you the number for CODA?
Yeah, please do. Yeah. Just stick it in the.
But what did you do after you left? How did you deal with the low moments?
What do you mean? What low moments?
Like when you were struggling.
Like when?
I don't know. You're looking at me. You find it difficult to talk about it.
It is difficult to talk about it. It's not. I think it's another one of those areas where we have to be really careful. Not just for ourselves, but because of the responsibility factor. I feel bad because I would be a total hypocrite if I said, yeah, you should go to AA, you got to go to those things. Because I just didn't. You know,
Yeah, but you're not saying don't go to AA. They work for people. 12 steps works for some people, but then there has to be another version. Not everyone in the world in recovery is in AA.
yeah,
So
okay.
you're the version that's not doing it, and that might help some people who go, I don't feel comfortable doing AA. There must be another way. And you did it a different way. Stubbornness?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of that. Yeah.
I don't know. Because you didn't really have a support group or anything, did you?
No.
Did you have a sponsor?
No.
Well, what would you say to someone who doesn't want to do AA?
I would say there's certain things that they tell you in AA that really make a lot of sense, and they're kind of like the only lessons you need. You know, the one I would say I do actually think to myself sometimes is like, as long as I don't have a drink today, it's going to be all right. You know, and then you just wait it out, and then you haven't had a drink. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just such a simple policy, but it really works. Like the one day at a time thing is really brilliant, and they also taught me that you don't say to yourself, "Oh, I'm never going to drink again." You don't say that. You just have to break it right down into a manageable thing. Maybe for some people it might be more sensible to say, "Well, I'm not going to drink in the next 10 minutes." You know? Might be one of those.
Well, it's a distraction thing as well, isn't it? My friend has stopped smoking, and she got the NHS app to help. And when you get a craving, you press the button and it makes you play a game of Snake.
Really?
Until the craving, yeah, and then afterwards the craving subsided momentarily.
How much did it cost to make that app?
Probably not very much.
Unless they probably charge billions for it, though, didn't they?
Yeah, there's probably going to be a tribunal or something of it.
Yeah, I reckon. I think, distraction-wise. I mean, I know some people that one of my friends said to me that they sort of felt genuinely afraid to go near the booze area of a supermarket, or if they turned around a corner and suddenly they found themselves confronted by wine, and they would get really upset. In the first moments after, going into rehab or giving up or whatever. But you can't avoid those situations.
Did you find that difficult seeing wine?
No. Because I think I did that stubborn thing that you said about where it's like, right, I'm never drinking again. And it was like the last thing you're supposed to do. That's it, I don't drink anymore. Cheers, guys. See you later.
What about when you went back to music, performing?
I don't know, because it's like, I don't know what poisoned what really, because I didn't really enjoy myself for a long time. I always think it took me about 6 years to start smiling and actually meaning it when I smiled after quitting booze. I feel like I feel a bit pissed off that it was all kind of, as a public figure, the struggles are of interest to a certain type of media consumer, I think. And I just didn't feel like I was able to conduct my recovery with any dignity or privacy. So I was pretty fucked off with the whole thing in the first place. And all I wanted to do was get better and sort my life out. And I felt a bit like every time I did an interview, they were talking about drugs and they were talking about alcohol. Every time I raised my head above the parapet to do some music, the only kind of music I ever do is to try and, uplifting music that makes people feel good. And all I was getting was just that shit every fucking time. For the first, I would say 16 years, that every interview was the same bullshit, and it really pissed me off. So I didn't enjoy doing music because the peripheral stuff around it was so poisoned by everyone's apparent acute knowledge of my behaviours, habits and recovery. So I was like, fuck you all. And it's only because I love doing music so much that I put up with it. But I was really tempted to quit. And when I say quit, I mean fucking myself. I'd had enough. I hated it. 6 years of just miserable. Like, I'm just trying to do some fucking music here, guys. Shut the fuck up. Leave me alone. And that's why I'm not much into the community of it. Why the fuck should I be? You know, being isolated gives you a chance to actually do the thing you want to do. You know, I don't want to drink. I don't want to drink alcohol. I don't want to do drugs. I don't want to talk to any fucking journalist that only wants to know about my my rock bottom. F you, you're my rock bottom. Get out of my life. Get out of my car. Whatever you're in, you know, get out and leave me alone.
Get out of my car.
You know, you nosy. Just let a man be a fucking musician. So yeah, and then I moved to a country far removed from all of that stuff. And every time, and then like last week or 3 weeks ago, I go to London. I take my little girl out. We go to the hairdresser. Brilliant stuff. I go down the road. I cross the road. That's fucking newsworthy apparently. And it gives me an excuse to do the whole, yes, Hawkins spent this much money on cocaine and all that sort of stuff. Like, fuck off. I'm not doing an interview. I'm crossing the road. Leave me alone. You know, and that's after 17 years, and it's still a story. So yeah, I would say I like to keep myself to myself, you know? And that's why. How's that?
Well, I think the question was, how did you? How was it? How was performing again?
Performing the actor crossing the road. That's hard enough, girl. I'll tell you. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there, but yeah, I think maybe we've unboxed something important. You know, because I feel like there's the thing about the music trade is like you get. Let's use the example of Pete Doherty. Doherty? How do you say it? Doherty or Doherty? How do you say it?
I say Doherty.
From the Libertines.
Libertines?
Yeah. What is it? Libertines, yeah. The Libertines. So the Libertines, Pete Doherty. You know, I met him and he was sort of burning holes in his t-shirt, which just kind of looks like I've been doing that, but no, it's not that. To have the affectation of a person that was so out of it that they dropped the cigarette on their shirt, you know, that's the vibe that he was looking for. And then art imitated life, or life imitated art, or something happened, and he was really quite famously doing loads of drugs and stuff, and everybody was sort of speculating about whether he'd live or die. And at some point, he must have got himself sorted because he's still alive. You know,
he's eating cheese in France.
Yeah, he likes cheese, and he's got sort of noticeably bigger. And I felt like there was some. Was it paparazzi pictures of him looking like cheese laden and standing near a hedge or something?
He was walking his dog. Yeah,
so then they took some pictures of him walking his dog and then made a story about how he enjoys cheese. But it was sort of mildly mocking in a way, and it was sort of like saying it was much cooler when he was doing heroin. You know, but walking the dog and eating cheese is something to laugh at mockingly. But doing the heroin and stuff is like, oh, goody, hope he dies soon, and then we can make a cool story about it. There's definitely that, you know, or hope he gets this famous model pregnant, or, you know what I mean? Like they're just waiting for something to happen. It's much more interesting for a musician from the media's perspective to be fucked up, because then it's like a brinkmanship. Will he die? Won't he? Who's he going to end up with? That kind of soap opera around it. And the melodrama, nobody's inclined to help or show any sort of give any respectful distance, and there's no euphemisms involved. They're just blatantly, let's watch this person fuck his life up and then sell some newspapers on the back of that. That's how that works, isn't it? I have to stop my pen. Hi.
Well, the UK was pretty bad with that.
UK is bad, but I think in general that's like a UK tabloid thing. But I think within the music trade, I mean, music press, it can be pretty bad in the music press as well. They're almost more fickle in a way.
I think now it's more shocking if someone says, even if they go, I think it's changed a lot now. So if they go, imagine if they went Justin Bieber drunk on stage, then people would be like, what? But back then it was like, someone sober on stage probably would have been the story. Like, it's now like, and I think I saw something in The Guardian that I was going to show you, where the rock and the drinking and the drugs is not, because it's now like a business and a workplace, and like the Lizzo scandal that came out where she like brought the story of her bringing her dancers to a strip club and people like doing raunchy stuff, like that would have just been acceptable before. Now if that happens, people are like, what, that breaches that person's boundaries and safety in the workplace.
Yeah.
You can't be drunk and
maybe there should be a HR department on tour buses now. Like the back lounge should be the HR department with a desk in there. You have to knock and then wait before you enter.
A little desk. I feel like that's like it's going to be like a role play rather. It sounds like you're setting up a weird, sexy role play thing.
Take it up with the HR department at the back of the bus. You know,
I'm sure you have.
Knock and wait.
Just in case.
Because it's just rude to walk in, isn't it? You should wait.
I guess there is no HR in the music industry, is there? Well, there is now in like publishing houses.
Yeah, I guess so.
Labels.
It's funny because I remember somebody at one of the labels that we were working at just wasn't there anymore one day.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying.
And then, what happened to that guy? And said, it's a bit too touchy-feely. So that does happen. I mean, that was back then in the days. You know,
the touchy-feely probably, it means he did something really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know. I
And,
don't want to think about that. Actually.
We were trying to go to the bit where you now perform and how it's different. The whole process.
Oh, okay. It's different. Oh, God. Yeah. Sorry, my mind is just... Nowadays, it's more... I just enjoy my life a bit more now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I still, like, earlier on when I was enraged about not being allowed the dignity and the space to recover, because you're a commodity, you know, you're a musician, you're a public figure. There's a sense that nothing you do can ever be private again. You've sort of sold that part of your existence by being successful and talking to those people in the first place. So you've lost all that. And then it took me years to gain any sense of it back. And I'm only just getting to that now. Now I think it's really cool to have this platform, because I don't need to, like, I can bat away a lot of the press and other media requests that come in, because they don't have the same reach or impact as it would, you know, talking about the music would on this channel. It's ironic that we're doing an episode about alcoholism because it's the exact thing that I try and avoid talking about in those other situations, but at least we've got an opportunity to own it here.
Well, that's why I was surprised you suggested it.
Was that my suggestion?
Yeah.
Oh, bollocks.
You were like, we should definitely do it. We should definitely do it.
Oh, yeah, because we were talking about, in the last one, we sort of found ourselves dancing around this topic, and it's kind of like, that. It's the potential for the ultimate tangential meandering, really. But,
well, I don't usually bring it up with you. I don't know. You don't like talking about it.
I mean, I don't like talking about it because historically I've spoken to people about it with a view to it being like then, you know, read out or, you know, written in an article. And the people that I've spoken to about it, I can just tell that they don't give a fuck about me or anybody else. They just want to sell some newspapers. You know, that's it. So I don't like to. So it's difficult to sort of shake off that suspicion once you've experienced that. It's definitely one of the traumas of being successful. Like you recognise, like you start to sort of hate yourself. Really, it's your health. You know, because you kind of know that you're oversharing in certain situations, and without the right kind of media training, or in my case, any media training, you end up oversharing in situations that come back to bite you, and they can bite you again and again and again, and it takes years to sort of shake off stuff that you say. I mean, it's probably a bit easier now because you just get cancelled, you know, and you don't have to deal with anybody ever again. That would actually be easy, you know. But to actually try and rebuild in a when you don't when you're completely disinclined to deal with a certain section of the music existence that's required to become big again, trying to rebuild whilst circumnavigating that, dealing with your own self-hatred, the shame and the guilt of having blown it and spent 5 years like not doing the darkness, which was a huge mistake, you know. Career-wise, it was a huge mistake, and it's something I felt like I needed to do, but it was a mistake. And living with that, trying to come back from it, you know, the responsibility that I had to my bandmates and stuff, and really the trying to save my own life, and you know, everybody suffered because of the stuff that I did. And now, it's only now where I'm like, yeah, but I'm still awesome. You know, now it's only that. And I can say it on this and sort of talk about alcohol on my terms in this forum. And it gives me an opportunity to, next time somebody asks me about alcohol or booze or drugs or whatever in an interview, I can say, yeah, just go and watch episode, whatever number this is, from that date, and put whatever you want in your fucking article. And you can take that biro and shove it up your fucking ass. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Not this biro, your biro.
Yeah.
How's that? Do you think we've done enough?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Go on, one more.
Well, because a lot of people who watch it are struggling with alcohol.
Yeah.
But they want to still do music and perform, and they just find it really hard to be in those environments and stuff. But I don't know if you found it.
Oh, yeah, well, that is the difficult part. Okay, so I don't think that is the difficult part, actually, because as I've just ranted for the last 20 minutes, I think my difficulty was the fact that I had a very public meltdown. You know, like I had a sort of, it was all well known what I was doing, and when I was trying to get better, it was a point of public fascination for a minute. So I didn't feel like anything I did ever again would be taken on its own merits. It would always be in the context of that guy that fucked his life up by doing all those drugs.
I don't think people see it as that.
No, but it's kind of like, but that's where the bitterness comes from, and the sort of, you know, like when I've been heavy in the past. I'm not talking about my weight, but coincidentally, but when I've been sort of bogged or weighed down by disenchantment, you know, it's always been because of that. It's always that. You know, that's the thing that I just hate the idea that your whole life has become this commodity, and that people who don't know you think they know something about you. I hate that there's no mystique. I hate that. That isn't what I got into music for. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't want to know what fucking Steven Tyler and Bon Scott did with their lives. I just didn't. I wanted to hear the music.
Now everybody...
I wanted to hear the stories they were telling. I wanted to listen to the guitar solos. I wanted to admire their hair. You know, I didn't want to hear shit like that.
But you must have known that they were taking drugs and being wild as well. You wouldn't.
Not when I first started listening to that kind of music. That wasn't.
But
the
you
thing
were only
that
like
excited
14,
me.
weren't you? Yeah, but you're only like 14, weren't you?
Younger than that, actually, with the Aerosmith stuff, and I think I was about 11 when I first started being aware of Aerosmith.
I don't think you really become aware of the drugs and all that stuff until you're older. I don't think. But now maybe because people are such a commodity and their lives are so infiltrated by the press, they can't do stuff like that. Like if it came out that Harry Styles was shooting up heroin, people would be like, what? Like he knows he'd lose his fan base because everybody knows everything about everybody. I don't know if that's changed it. I just don't know. I just thought of something a minute ago when we were at that big Wembley show. There was someone backstage who was drinking a bit too much, and me and Dan got into the lift, and then she came in, and one like fell against the thing, and then fell against Dan. Dan was like, and she was just wasted. And it was like such a juxtaposition to everyone else there. Like, you had the biggest rock stars in the world in that place, and it was just so uncouth and unattractive, and not like sexy in rock and roll way, even though she was like dressed in a really sexy way. And I was like, someone needs to. Is she all right? Like I was worried about her. I was like, I really hope someone's going to say something to her and check in on her, because she was so drunk compared to everybody else, and it just was not cool. It was so uncool. What do you think about that? That would have been more normalized before, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just so. I was just like, it was like gross, kind of like ick. It was like, why are you like falling around on top of everyone? She was having a great time, but it was just like, you know, when you're like doing something, there's that drunk person where you like stop.
I don't know. Maybe it's changed because you know I've extracted myself from all that and don't even.
It was really jarring, and
Yeah, okay.
Dan was like
you
this.
probably know more about what it's like than I do, really, because you know I just haven't been part of it for ages.
I didn't think it has changed slightly. I think bands try it, although I think it still happens, because that band that we're playing, I saw those two bands the other week, and there was a lot of drugs apparently backstage.
Yeah. What two bands were they?
I'm not saying. I don't want to. I thought it was so funny when one of them was like, I left. I said, that's not very rock and roll. It's like, I like to be in bed by 10. But then apparently the rest are all taking... I don't know.
Which one left?
The singer.
Oh, that's cool.
He's trying not to drink loads and smoke loads, apparently. But they're a bit older. They're not like a young band.
Yeah.
They're like... So, I don't know if that... I don't know. Health is definitely a big thing at the moment.
Yeah. Well, you'll notice that I didn't smoke at all throughout this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Why?
Because I knew that you would tell me off or look concerned. No, I don't know. I just didn't
Is that
feel
annoying?
Like
Am I
feel
annoying?
Like that's
Am
my
I
next
annoying
challenge.
you?
No, not at all. My next challenge is give up smoking. Do you think I can do it?
Yeah, just think of it like alcohol. Why the fuck are you smoking? You're weak if you smoke.
Yeah, that's a really good one, that is. That's a good way to get me going, actually. You're weak. Pathetic. Like other people who smoke. I hate people. I won't do it anymore. I don't want to be like them. If anybody has some advice for me on giving up smoking, perhaps use the comment section here.
You can do it. You did it before.
Yeah, but I didn't really do it because I smoke again now. Yeah,
but that's because you did it. You didn't smoke for like 3 or 4 months, and then just before the Wembley thing, you smoked.
Oh yeah, I did. That's right. And I've been smoking ever since. It's coming up to a nice full year of smoking.
Yeah, you should stop.
Yeah, okay, I'll stop. Okay. In summary, I think for those of our viewership who are struggling, or listenership rather, or both, either, are struggling with alcohol and other addiction issues, I think it's really difficult to advise, because I don't know if I'm being responsible by sharing my journey. I mean, my thing is full of bitterness and resentment and withdrawal as well. I mean, I'm not just talking about withdrawal from the effects of stopping drinking or doing drugs. I withdrew from the music trade for a second. I withdrew from my band and my family and everything, and I've completely isolated myself in a foreign country. That's really what happened, and it's what I did and I felt I needed to do to survive. I think if you're experiencing those difficulties and you're not in a band that's established, there is a way to achieve, a successful period of recovery with the community of the AA and the anonymous lot. isn't there? I mean, it's probably more apt. I mean, I don't know if I could ever truly go to, one of those things and feel like I trust that process. But I know it works, and there's some lessons that I've taken from it that have really helped me. But really, my only advice can be prioritize the recovery, make it the only thing that matters, or make it the thing that matters more than everything else. And for better or worse, those things will come back to you eventually. Once you've, spent a few years putting your recovery first, then the other parts of your life that you've put to one side will come back, right? That's fair to say that, I think. We're going to put some links to what stuff that's helpful, or what stuff that's charitable, and
but you can put AA stuff and then any other stuff as well. Yeah,
we're going to put some links to the various organisations that might help in that instance.
There's probably one for musicians, actually, isn't there?
There might be. I don't know. But really,
it could be music. Really,
I think all I'm saying is put your recovery first. Break it down. Don't try and think beyond not drinking today. That's the best you can do, really.
Or anything else, any other substance.
You don't want to have your recovery or your abstinence seem like a daunting task. So you break it down into time segments that are easy to manage. Like, I know I won't drink in the next 5 minutes. Beyond that, it's anyone's guess. And then you keep rolling that over. That's really how it works, isn't it? So I leave you with the Serenity Prayer. What is the Serenity Prayer? You must know it as well.
What is the story? How's the story?
Gold. Was it?
Big something. Courage. Something about courage.
Yeah, having the courage to grant me the courage.
The courage.
No, grant me the... Oh, was it?
Wisdom. Oh, wisdom, courage, and something, isn't it?
Serenity.
And serenity. This is why we didn't make it very far in these groups. We didn't. I've heard it so many times as well. Yeah. This is because we're not team players.
The serenity to accept the things I cannot change. The wisdom, the courage.
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Courage to change the things I can.
And the wisdom to know the difference.
Know the difference.
Is that it?
Yeah, I got the courage and the wisdom word in.
The courage and the wisdom of love. Could be a good ballad.
Do you feel loved?
What?
Do you feel loved?
I feel love. Do I feel anything?
Yeah, you feel a lot of things.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, that's why I'm fucking self-medicating all the time. So I don't know if any of this has been helpful or enlightening. If I might say, I'll probably say this in the top and tail, but I really enjoyed having a little rant, because when you said to me that I isolate, or what did you say that
You isolated yourself, right?
Yeah. That's like the last thing you're supposed to do, isn't it? But I think I've become... What is it?
Become what?
How does that go again? Yeah.
I can't hear it.
Solitary man. But just in terms of that stuff, which I don't think that's the right thing to do. Isolating is a bad thing, right?
It's good to have support.
Yeah. Shall we tie it off? Justin Hawkins rides again. Thank you so much for watching. We hope this conversation was insightful and maybe even useful for some of you. Again, if you're struggling with alcohol consumption or any other substances, please use the links that we've put in the description for help. You can do this. I also know there's an incredible community of musicians on this channel, so you may find some support amongst one another in the comments. I'll see you next Monday for another episode of Justin Hawkins Rides Again, the podcast. Again.